Alright, so here we are. I'm about to give birth to a baby I didn't know I had after almost 8 hours of being tortured by being left alone in active screaming labor in an emergency room overnight because nobody could be bothered to check twice what was going on with me. And I definitely would just want to address a question that's being asked a lot in the previous videos is, where is my fiance? I told him not to come. We don't have a car. You can read about that in my GoFundMe. And we have cats, and I was so worried about them and him, and how is he going to get home? How is he going to get to his job the next day? I didn't even know what was wrong with me, and I was basically incoherent at that point, and all I kept saying was, stay home, stay home. And he listens to me. He wanted to be there. And as for like friends, it was almost midnight. I don't have many friends, but the ones I do have wouldn't have been able to be there in the middle of the night on a weekday. Here I am. Just went through what I did with that aide, telling me to get dressed and take care of myself when I clearly couldn't. Telling me I smell, telling me I need to take better care of myself and I can't come into the ER smelling like this. At this point, I'm ready to just give up, mentally and physically. They had me laying back on the stretcher, and I mean like flat on my back, no pillow behind my head. And the pain I felt in my back, the pain I felt in my legs and my abdomen, it just felt like nobody cared. Nobody was listening to me. At one point, my gynecologist asked when I was retelling him this story, he said, do you think it has anything to do with the fact that you're overweight? And I said, yes, absolutely. Especially with the way that that one lady treated me. Can I fully explain why I felt that way? No, but I have been treated like this for a long time since I started putting weight on like 15 years ago. You get treated differently when you're heavy, and that's just a fact. I'm not here to argue that with anybody who thinks differently. So finally, they're paying me attention. They do the ultrasound, they do the pelvic exam, and they discover as they whisper to each other, there's a baby. There's a big baby. There was no time, according to them, to move me to labor and delivery at that point. Once they figured out what was happening, it was go time. I was moved next door into the CCU and surrounded by quite a team of people, and they put me into the position to give birth. Mind you, I've had maybe 30 seconds to wrap my own in and out of consciousness brain around this fact that I'm about to give birth to a baby. I also know at the same time, I can't handle being a mother. It was never my plan. It was never me and my fiance's plan to be parents. I was on birth control. I went off of it with a plan to go on to a different one, and I got pregnant in that interim very quickly. It was less than a month. Again, no one will be able to blame me more than I blame myself for any of this happening, so don't be mistaken about that. The one awkward thing I remember is there was this older gentleman doctor who was just had his arms folded, and he was just intently staring between my legs the entire time. Come to find out, he was paying attention to the baby's health. My baby was blue when he came out. He had an APGAR score of 1, 4, and 8, and I don't really know too much about APGAR scores other than knowing that 1 means he was severe in like the first minute of it being born, and the numbers going better as they recheck after like I think 5 and 10 minutes. Correct me if I'm wrong. But the point is he was severe. The pain that I went through in this childbirth, I still can't sleep at night. I take kind of micro naps throughout my days, but if I sleep anything longer than 2 or 3 hours, I start to have nightmares about what I went through. I'll put it to you this way in terms of natural childbirth pain, and especially in the situation that I was in. It was so painful that in that moment, if I had government secrets, I'd talk. I tore. I had to have surgery later in the week for that because I refused to have surgery the first day, and I'll get into that later why. And to have this team of people around you saying you by name, telling you, Rachel, keep pushing, you gotta keep pushing, you gotta keep going, and you feel like you can't even breathe, you can't lean up enough to do the pushing, then suddenly it's over. Everything that I've been feeling for the last few days, all the pain, the way it's been snowballing like a huge avalanche, the neglect and the fear and the exhaustion, all of a sudden it just stops. The pain and the pressure I felt in my abdomen was gone, and I was told I have a son. He was 40 weeks and 3 days completely full term, and I didn't have a single clue the entire last year. The main reason I'm telling this story is because if this is something that I could help another woman with, I want to. I'm going to get through the shame of this story, hopefully to get through to somebody to go see a doctor themselves. And I wish the story stopped here, but the week was just an insane week, and we're going to keep going with it. Next video, I'll tell you guys what happened when I finally made it upstairs after the giving birth.